Welcome to the JS Self-Care Mind, Body, and Soul podcast, a weekly conversation about self-care, personal development, and all the small decisions we can make to become the best possible versions of ourselves. I am your host, Janelle. I am a social worker and a self-care life coach based out of New York. For more information, make sure you visit my website at JSSELFCARE.org. I want to welcome my new listeners, and I also want to welcome my returning listeners. If you can please share this episode, because there's someone in this world who needs to listen to this episode. I also want to personally thank you all for making the JS Self-Care Mind, Body, and Soul podcast part of your weekly routine. I truly, truly appreciate you. This week's topic is the hard truths about self-care. Wow, the hard truths about self-care? Let's embrace ourselves for this episode. I'm going to give it to you as raw as I can. Just know that self-care is not an expense. It's an investment. Some of us feel, and I am guilty for this too, that self-care is all about bubble baths, spa days, buying ourselves things we want, from clothing to electronics and so on. Just buying ourselves the things that make us feel our best. We also think that slowly savoring beautiful, delicious, yet healthy food, or non-healthy food, for me, some good old soul food. Wait, let's not forget getting our hair and nails done. Oh, wait, let me not forget this one, Netflix and chill. Self-care has a pretty reputation, and that is do all the things you love. Some people talk about self-care as always showering ourselves in beautiful luxury things that takes us away from our reality, only to return back to that same reality. Disclaimer: once we do all the things we love, we then come back to our realization. We sit with our miserable self, that people-pleasing person, or that person that says yes to everything. True self-care isn't quite like that. Who wants to have in a few amazing hours only to come home and be unhappy with ourselves? Sure, all those things are all nice. Who doesn't want to go to the spa? Raise your hand. My hand is down. I love going to the spa. I just call it self-soothing. Who doesn't want to get their hair and nails done? Raise your hand. My hand is down again. I love getting my hair done. I just call it self-maintenance. We all have been given the message that self-care is an indulgence. JS Self-Care is here to tell you that it's not so true. Listen, I didn't say I did not love doing those things, because I do. I love going to the Dominicans to get my hair done. I love going to the Chinese people to get my nails slayed. But I know that's self-maintenance, and going to the spa is self-soothing. Self-care is more of a necessity. It's mandatory. Self-care is a responsibility, and it isn't always peaches and creams. Sometimes self-care is simply cleaning up your shit and flushing that shit down the toilet. The very essence of self-care is doing what you need to do to thrive and survive. Of course, self-care is supposed to make you feel good. Genuine self-care is all about supporting your healthiest self, which is your mind, body, and soul. When we begin our journey to self-care, we have to embrace ourselves for a few changes. Some of those changes we will question, and some of those changes we will be okay with. Just know that self-care is all about you and has nothing to do with others. Self-care isn't fun all the time. So let's get into our hard truths about self-care. I break them down into about 20 truths. The first one is self-care is not a social media movement of you posting pictures of your happiest times and you feel broken inside, or you are not caring for yourself in a self-loving way. Self-care is an inside job, meaning you're going to work on you from the inside out. Most of your self-care work is done in private during those times you are alone. You get the time to reflect on your daily habits. So self-care is an inside job. It's not working from the outside in, it's working from the inside out. Our next one is, if your self-care work is done genuinely, it has the power to show up naturally and authentically on the outside. You don't have to go around proving to everyone that, oh, I'm taking care of myself. I got this. I'm taking care of myself. They will see it when you be ejecting that no button, or you eject that people pleasing button, like, not today. Nope, not doing it. I will not be pleasing you today. That is how you know your self-care work is being done. You don't have to tell anyone. Our next one is, you will make a few people mad when you begin to prioritize your self-care. There are going to be some people that's going to say, why are you doing that? What's that all about? Oh, you think you're too good. Keep doing your work. Keep taking care of you. Forget about what others say. Self-care is not all about taking bubble baths, getting our hair and nails done, and going to the barbershop. Those are things that we do to self-soothe ourselves, and it's also called self-maintenance. Fifth one is, self-care is about being comfortable with being uncomfortable in this present moment to benefit your future self. We always want to talk about our future self and where we see ourselves. So when you're starting that journey, you got to start being uncomfortable, because you're going to be put in an uncomfortable situation when you start your journey to self-care. When you create boundaries that is geared towards your self-care, it will scare some people away. Let them go. Don't say, wait, let me explain. Let them go. What that means is, they don't understand that you changing your life for the better. You can't explain that, because it's a journey for you. So you have to let them go. Those who want to be in your life will stay in your life, and those will be your cheerleaders, cheering you on to living your best life. This one is very, very important. I need you to listen to this one. Self-care is not neglecting yourself to take care of someone else. FYI, you don't owe anyone your time. You don't owe anyone a text back. You don't owe anyone emotional support. You don't owe anyone anything when you need to be giving your time to yourself first. You come first. Self-care requires that you let go of a few things like relationships, friendships, family ships, love ships, extramarital ships, not so good habits, not so good choices, not so good behaviors, and all the things that are familiar to you but no longer serve you in a self-caring way. Gotta let them go. If they don't serve you, let them go. Self-care is being honest with yourself, even when the truth hurts. You have to have those self-talks with yourself and tell yourself the truth. It's going to hurt, but it is what it is. Self-care is being honest with you. Why are you going to lie to you to make you believe a crazy story in your head? You can't do that. You got to tell yourself those hard truths. Self-care is one of the hardest things to do when you begin that journey to self-care. Believe you me, it's not easy. It's hard to understand what's going on, because you're changing and you're actually growing and evolving, but you're uncomfortable with change because we're so used to being in that state of comfortability. When we have to get uncomfortable to care for ourselves, that is the journey. And that journey will never end. You stay on your self-care journey. You got this. Once you start your journey, you will become addicted to caring and loving you. You will be like a drug addict, but your NAAA program will be called self-care, your SC program. And that program, you will be programming yourself. You won't be going to meetings. You'll be programming yourself on how you can care for you, how you can actually love you. The key to self-care is loving yourself with no regrets. The self-care thing to do is take care of your body. You don't have to turn into a health guru or a goddess overnight, but do your best to give your body what it needs. Drink plenty of water, eat fruits and vegetables. Just try your best to eat healthy in healthy amounts. Go for walks outside whenever you can. Do the things that make you feel healthy and strong. The self-care thing to do is to exercise, even if you don't want to. Push yourself, move it, move your body. Self-care is saying no to the foods that we know that don't agree with our stomach, no matter how good the food tastes and look. I'm talking about those foods we love and we choose to eat them, but we drink some Pepto-Bismol or Benadryl so we don't break out or die. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Stop it. That's not the self-care thing to do. We're relying on Pepto-Bismol or Benadryl just so we can eat that good old food that we will get an allergic reaction or our stomach will stop bubbling up. Self-care is getting your 7 areas of rest, which includes spiritual rest, mental rest, physical rest, creative rest, emotional rest, social rest, and sensory rest. We need all of those areas to be well rested. If you want more information on the areas of rest needed for your body to fully recharge, please listen to last week's podcast. So get that rest rather than staying up late, working and creating. You need to rest. But what area you need to rest, I suggest you go listen to last week's episode. Self-care is coming up with boundaries and maintaining those boundaries in new relationships and even old relationships. Self-care is also setting consequences when someone crosses your boundaries. For example, you can tell a person, when you cheat on me, it hurts. I will not allow you to cheat on me. And if you decide you need to cheat on me or on this relationship, I will leave. If the person cheats on you again, I need you to activate that consequence. Get your stuff and leave, because that was your consequence. We cannot just set boundaries, give consequences, allow people to mess up on the boundaries or break the boundary, and then we're forgiving them. No, because then you're in a cycle and you're going to keep on going through the same behavior because you gave a consequence, but you didn't act on your consequence. Self-care is creating a budget and sticking to it. Remember, I always told everyone, self-care is an action word. You got to create a budget and you have to stick to it. If you go out the budget, you will stress yourself out because you won't be able to pay your bills. And guess what? Your stress level will go up. And that's not self-care. Self-care is the actions that we do. So we can't say we not going to pay a bill and then be stressed out, because now we're stressed out. And what is that? The mind, body, and soul is affected because we didn't pay our bills. Pay your bills, create the budget, take care of your business, which you need to take care of, so that you can avoid your stress levels going up. Self-care is getting mental help. That could be a pastor, a friend, a mental health therapist, a self-care life coach, a spiritual coach, just someone you can talk to. Let's stop holding things in and let's release our stresses. Let's allow others to pour into us. It's all about being vulnerable. Get that mental help, whatever that looks like for you. You don't have to go in a big old building, make an appointment. Talk to a friend, but stop holding your stresses in because you're worried about what others think or what others will do with what you told them. Get that mental help that you need. Self-care is having those difficult conversations with your loved ones. Like when you share with them that you are on this journey and it's called self-care. And then you tell them that you are going to have to get real uncomfortable to be comfortable with it, because you are in a transformation within yourself. You're transforming. Their response may be, oh, you think you're too good for us now? You want to change? You may hear some harsh stuff and be okay with it. It's all a part of your self-care journey. Self-care is being able to learn your limits and know your limits. First, you have to learn them so that you can know them, right? So when you're in that process of sitting alone and you're in that mode of how can I care for myself? What are ways? Or you're writing down in your journal, just figuring out what are your limits. Get to know your limits by learning them and then activate your limits. Like, I'm going out to the store. I will be at the mall from 4 to 8. Whatever I don't buy, I don't buy. That's a limit. Set those limits while you're setting those boundaries, because limits and boundaries go hand in hand. But you don't know our limits. We are not born with the limits. We have to learn them, and learning them and creating them and then knowing them. Self-care is standing up for yourself and only agreeing to do the things that are for your better good. Don't agree with everything and everybody just to make them feel good. If it works for you, agree to it. If it doesn't, that's fine too. But you have to stand up for yourself if you don't agree with something. If you don't agree how a person's treating you, let them know. If you don't agree with what your boss is saying, do it in a respectful way. Say, I don't agree with that policy. I know I have to follow it, and give a suggestion. You got to be solution-based too. But self-care is all about standing up for yourself, and only if you agree to the things that are put in front of you. And your agreements got to be always for your better good. Self-care, of course, is saying no and not giving too less of a fucks what others have to say or what they feel. Say no, period. No explanation. Why we always got to worry about what this one think if we say no, how this one gonna feel, and then you stuck where you feeling a certain way because you done say yes to everything. Say no if you feel you choose to. That's what you feel. I want to say no. I'm going to say no. I don't want to go. I don't want to do that. Just say no. That is the self-caring thing to do. Self-care is treating yourself the same way you treat someone you love. Have you ever noticed that we treat ourselves vastly different than we treat other people? We comfort our friends when they're feeling down, but we don't comfort ourselves. We encourage sick family members to get rest and stay hydrated, but we don't encourage ourselves to drink water and rest and stay hydrated. We even make sure our children and spouses have enough to eat, but we don't make sure we are full. One of our issues is we often don't offer even a fraction of the same love and support to ourselves. I need all of us to try to take notice of the way we treat the people we love. Take notice when we support our loved ones and offer the same support to yourself. Take all your caring gestures and offer the same gestures to yourself. Treating yourself with love and respect is the foundation of self-care. Self-care is improving the way you talk to yourself. Self-talk is another area where we tend to talk to ourselves in a very harsh way, and we talk to others in a self-loving way. The next time you catch beating up on you or making judgments about yourself, stop immediately. Ask yourself, would I ever say to my best friend? The answer may be, of course not. If you're not quite sure where to start with improving your self-talk, try repeating one of these positive affirmations to yourself when you are feeling discouraged or down. Don't talk bad to yourself. I want you to say this instead. I am strong and capable. My hard work will pay off. I appreciate challenges and what I learned from overcoming them. I am enough. I am accomplished. I am a work in progress. On the flip side, another part of self-care that doesn't get much coverage is how it takes discipline and a lot of self-talk to implement self-care daily. Self-care, unfortunately, doesn't come naturally. Not to mention, implementing self-care is hard as hell. I know, I'm a work in progress. We as humans struggle the most with self-care because we got other responsibilities like our spouses, our lovers, our children, our parents, the dog, the fish. You get what I'm saying? It's a lot, and a lot of people are depending on you. I truly wish I could say self-care is all about the glitz and the glamour. Hey, I'm dreaming about me sitting on a beach with a nice cold beverage in my hand, preferably a cold libation. But self-care is not all about that. It's hard enough to just find the time to take better care of our mind, body, and soul. But we can all start somewhere. We can take small strides to do better. Remember my favorite quote, when you know better, you do better. Start your journey now. It's not too late to care for you. While I hope you love listening to this podcast and learning from it, it's not meant to be a substitute for mental health treatment. Schedule a coaching session with me, your self-care life coach, Janelle. If mental health treatment is needed, please don't hesitate to contact a therapist in your area. Self-care is important and necessary. Take care of you and continue to put you first no matter what. If anything in this podcast resonated with you and you want to continue the conversation, please don't hesitate to contact me, Janelle, at JSSELFCARE.org. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and share for daily doses of self-care affirmations and notes to self. Make sure you join the JS Self-Care social media tribe on most social media platforms.